Hey everyone, welcome to Watch Complications. I'm Brian. Thanks for joining me for this review video of the Selten Meteorite out of this world watch, what they call it. But if you like what you see here, consider maybe hitting the super thanks. Give me a tip. You could join as a member if you want to help keep things running here for the price of a cup of coffee a month, or just hit the subscribe button and stick around, see what things come down the pipeline here at Watch Complications. All the links are in the description below to my website, Instagram, and to Selten, talking about this new watch that just arrived after I've been waiting for about 8 months. It's been a while. Kickstarter, you just never know sometimes how long it's going to take, if it even does show up. More on that in a future video regarding wait times, not just for Kickstarter, so keep your eyes peeled for that. That'll be coming soon. What I want to do here though, I've had this watch for just a couple days. Go through, show you what the unboxing was like, give you initial first impressions, pros and cons that have stood out to me sort of right away. In the future, I'll probably do a short, more detailed video that goes into, say, some more movement specifics, design, likes and dislikes. But what I want to do here is the basics. Up front, here's what I'm liking, not liking, and show you what was in the box, how it came shipped, that jazz. And I'll probably, like a lot of you out there, enthusiasts, collectors, you have a collection of watches. There's probably some ebb and flow to it, incoming, outgoing. I'm not really a serial buyer of watches at this point. I have plenty of watches, but I only typically buy something that I really think has a shot of being in my collection. I don't get things just because, or even just for review. If you've been around on the channel or you stick around, look at some of the other videos, you'll notice that most of the stuff I've reviewed is stuff that it's not that I just got it in for review and pass it along to someone else. I've done a few of those. But about everything is something that has either been in my collection or is still in my collection. And so I've used Kickstarter for several watches, a variety of watches. And again, I'll detail those in a later video. But the watch we're looking at today, this Selten, is the most recent one I've done. And that I backed in July, end of July of last year, 2021. A lot of micro brands are going the pre-order route or just direct retail. So Kickstarter seems to be becoming less and less popular for at least good established brands, or even brands with just really good designs and they've got their supply chain figured out. You know, I'm not doing as much with the Kickstarter thing regarding watches, but this was the most recent one. This is the last one, and it finally arrived, and that's why we're looking at it today. You know, to be honest, I haven't even looked to see if there are even any other reviews, blog, watch mag, YouTubers, anything. I typically don't watch other YouTube reviewers, especially of ones that I am thinking of having or reviewing or whatever. I know that sounds weird, right? But the Selten is, which means rare in German, it is something that is a new brand. The guy who started, his name is Leonardo. And, you know, it seemed like a good kickoff watch. Something different, something unique. That's what attracted me to it. I wanted a Meteorite watch at a lower price point. Typically Meteorite's more on the expensive side of things, but it seemed like a good entry-level sort of Meteorite watch that came through Kickstarter. And, you know, there's some pros and cons to it though. So what am I liking and not liking about this from first getting? Well, first let me show you what it looks like a little bit more up close. Now I'm probably already interspersed some photos and whatnot, but you know, this is being a Meteorite dial, and there was an anthracite, like there was a darker gray, there was a few different dial types. Now there are a variety of models and hand combinations, and it was quite a bit probably for them to keep straight. So there's these Breguet style hands that are blued, and then there were Lance style hands with lume, and the campaign had some other options too, like you could get the add-on bracelet, you could get choose a serial number, that kind of stuff. Now, it took a while for them to get everything done, get them shipped out. There was communication was a little bit spotty here and there. It's better, I think, to I kind of take it with a grain of salt, I guess. I'm patient enough, and I've done enough things on Kickstarter that just basically set it on the shelf and don't think about it too much, and then just kind of see what happens. I mean, that's really what you're signing up for when you back a Kickstarter campaign anyway, to be honest. I don't understand quite the people that have all the time to get on there and just constantly complain. But I understand why. Right? You invest your money in something and you hope to get what you were promised. Sure, fine. And let me show you also here, the rotor is one of the cool things about it on the watch, at least the design. Pros, cons. Let me say the pros first. In my couple days of experience with this, again, maybe more details later. I love the overall look. I mean, come on, it does look pretty good. It's got great design, and one of the things I like about it is it's not, you know, this sort of cookie cutter thing that everyone else has been doing for the past 4 or 5 years, right? Particularly diver, or maybe some tool or field style watches over and over, aviation one over and over again. Something different, right? This has got a little bit more of a sophisticated look to it. It's got a little bit more of an elegant look to it, and appreciate that. And the fact that it's Meteorite, right? At this price point, again, that's another one of the pros. The base rate was $299. I paid the $49 extra for the bracelet, and then I paid $10 for the choosing a serial number. So when it was all said and done for me, you know, it was like 350 bucks or whatever, 360. For Meteorite, not a bad entry level example. So love that about it. The brushing is actually really good. The transitions, there are some polish. There's got all three on this. There's some blasting on the back, sort of a be blasted look around the case back. Kind of see it there. And then there are some polished edges, and then there's both horizontal and vertical brushing. And you've got a combination of brushing and polished on the bracelet with the center links being polished. And even on the inside of the butterfly clasp, you've got some perlage in there. So it's kind of like a little bit of everything. But when you visually just look at it on the wrist, you're seeing mostly just brushed surface. And I think they've done pretty well on that. I also think that in terms of complications, hey, the site's called Watch Complications, that in terms of a 24-hour complication, particularly as a sub-dial, this is one of the better examples of that I've seen in the design. It's got the dark blue background with the stars on it. It looks a ton better than other examples that come on some of these low-end or lower-end movements, be they Miyota movements or seagull movements or other sort of Chinese-based movements. Then you have the small sun and moon discs, which are also cut from Meteorite, the lighter color and the darker color. I think it's just a really good 24-hour subdial. And I'm not a huge fan of that particular complication. I don't find it particularly all that useful. It's a visually appealing, or can be on a watch. You're not using it to tell specific time, really. I mean, you kind of get an AM or PM from it. But still, the visual on this one makes it worth having. So those are the big pros for me that stood out right away. Overall look, love it. Price point, cost for the Meteorite, about 300 bucks. Great. The brushing, really like it. And then the 24-hour subdial. Those are the 4 big pros that stand out. Okay. All right, so then what about some cons that really stick out to me in the first couple days of ownership and wearing this around? Well, it's got a Miyota automatic movement in it. If I remember correctly, I think it's the 9132. But a variety of Miyota automatic movements can tend to have rotors that are loud. And this is one of them. And so I've got a couple other watches that have Miyota movements that are mildly loud, but you know, the case back keeps some of that noise a little bit down, and so there's other design factors, right? But I'd say of all the watches where I've had a complete watch in a package, done, you know, available for purchase and had on the wrist, and I'm not talking about just playing around with movements and man, that's loud. Well, it's not the case. But complete sealed up watches, this is probably the second loudest watch I've ever had. The first one was whenever I was doing Brian and the Grail series, where I was looking at sort of cheap stand-ins for what is my Grail watch. And I had gotten a really low cost, I think it was a couple $100. It was just like grinding. In fact, today I was driving and I was, you know, turning the wheel. And I was like, what's that noise? Oh, it's the rotor on my watch. So be warned, it is loud. If you can tolerate it, I wouldn't say it's annoying, but it's close. is the look worth it? Is the juice worth the squeeze? At the moment for me, yeah. Moving on, the bracelet was an extra 49 bucks. And if you have the opportunity for a bracelet with a watch, I would typically say do that. You know, you can always get more leather straps. The bracelets usually cost more later on, that kind of thing. And it's got some nice attention to detail. It's got that perlage, like I mentioned, on the interior. Can't see it. It's only when it's open. So it, you know, it's got good spring action on it. You got the logo on the middle link. But I will say it's, you can tell it's a low-end bracelet. And, you know, with other watches that I've looked at, let's take Pagani Design. The worst thing about those watches is the bracelets by far. They have sharp edges, but just the material, they feel cheap. And I'm going to say on this one, it's a step above that. It's got smooth edges, the brushing's good. I'm not a huge fan of the polished look on bracelets generally. But of course, you know, take the context, right? It's a $50 bracelet for a $300 watch on Kickstarter. You gotta have those expectations where they belong. So it's not bad for what it is. But for people that have collections, extensive, have tried a lot of the different bracelets, you're probably going to get that, man, that's just, it doesn't feel as solid as one would hope. It's got screwed links. They actually work pretty well. It's just one end. The threads are at the top next to the head of the screw. They're fairly high tolerance fit. Comes with tools. One of the, I guess, sort of other pros, it came with some nice tools. Nice screwdriver. Probably nicest screwdriver I've ever had. They come with a, whether Kickstarter or a cheap watch that you get on Amazon or AliExpress or something like that. And then has no bounds S and F tip for the spring bars. These will, yeah, these will unscrew so you can replace the tips on, you see, has no bounds. Spring bar. It's got these protective covers over the tool, which is cool, both ends. And sort of a Horotech looking screwdriver. It's nice. This is what I use. I tested the tool to change out the links on this particular watch. And again, it's got a screw here. You can change out the tip if you want a different size screwdriver or different end on it. So yeah, some of the nicest tools I've gotten with sort of entry-level mechanical watches. But back to the links and the screws, there is a little bit of Loctite or adhesive on there, but it's not a lot. They come undone really easily. So make sure you screw it down. Well, but the action's pretty good. They unscrew and screw down fairly easily. You want to watch over time, make sure that they don't slowly come unscrewed. That's one thing I've seen with screwed links from lower end bracelets and Kickstarter campaigns and stuff before is they just can work themselves loose. If you don't put a little bit more Loctite on them or don't screw them down enough, they're going to come undone. But I don't know what that's going to be like with this one. We'll see over time. Like I said, I've only had it for a couple days, only worn a little bit. But it was a cinch, was quick, really easy to adjust the size of the bracelet. And that's helpful because the link size, it's kind of like a 3/4 size of a link. You get the small ones that kind of almost look like half links, but I'm kind of between links on this for that sort of real perfect fit. Doesn't have a micro adjust, so it's a little bit too tight or a little bit too loose on me between if I have one of these links in or out. So I've got on the tight side of things right now. What I think I'll end up probably doing more often than not is have it on the leather. I got the dark blue. It feels really good, again, from Has No Bounds, 20 millimeters, so you could find a strap easily that you might like or prefer, but this one actually feels pretty good. You'll see it a little bit more up close in the unboxing portion here in a second, but it's actually quite a nice feel. I like the zigzag sort of stitching they did on it. Looks a little bit different, and I think it's going to look really good, that dark blue with that 24-hour wheel with the blue and the grays. It's going to look like a little bit more dressy if it's on the leather. Next, I would say I like the hands. I like the Breguet style. I like the heated, steel blue color. But I will say, because of the grays and because of the blues and the sizes of the hands, as I've been wearing it around these couple days, it's not crazy good legibility. Like, you gotta look at it a little bit to really tease out the time. It's not a quick time read. And this model I have doesn't have any lume on it, which it was intentional. That was my choice. But it can be hard to read quickly. I have this picture, I'll show it, where like the hour hand is like directly over the sun. And then just the way the grays and blends mix, and this is gonna look different from watch to watch, because every single one's gonna be a little bit different because, hey, Meteorite, right? So every single dial is a little bit different than the next. So there's gonna be some variety there, but at least for me, it's not quick legibility to read the time. And so you might have to contend with that a little bit. And then one more sort of con that stands out to me is this, as I mentioned, is the Miyota 9132, which has multiple complications going on. Now, if you're looking at this dial face, you're thinking, okay, it's got time with 3 hands, and then you've got the 24-hour subdial. This has a couple other complications on it. It has a date. So in position 0, where the crown's pushed all the way in, that's your winding for manual winding. Position 1, pull it out, that first stop is date. So it's got the ghost date position, and then you pull it out to position 2, and you've got your time setting. But this movement also has a power reserve complication that's not used in this design. So it's hidden. There's not a hand on that particular pin. It's just hidden behind the dial. Don't see it. So I know why microbrands choose movements. I've had a handful of watches come through that have ghost dates. Not too often where you get other complications also sort of being ghosted. So I know why they chose this movement, but at the same time, maybe there would have been a better option. It would have changed the cost factor a little bit, sure. But ghosting complications is a little bit wonky to me. That's my own personal thing. I understand why, but be aware that when you look up the movement, you're like, oh, there's a lot more going on there. Yeah, but they're only taking advantage of the 24-hour wheel at the time on this particular series. So pros, cons, at least to me initially. So now, have a drink, snack, sit back, and enjoy the unboxing. All right, this is just the quick unboxing portion of this video. I want to get it on the wrist so you can see it, and I can, test wear it over this week. It came in a FedEx bag wrapped in bubble wrap. So we have the main box, and then there were some cards and a couple tools in the extra strap I got just put in the bubble wrap around the sides of the box. So I guess that saves a little bit on some of the shipping costs. There's not some more elaborate packaging that contained all this stuff. It's just, here's the box with the watch in it, and then the bubble wrap was containing the other tools. The idea here is pretty simple. It's just a card that has the manual on it. And then they partnered up with this company called Has No Bounds to do things like straps and tools and whatnot. And so there was another card in here that has a 50% off discount code. And so, that's all good. And then I didn't even remember that these were going to be part. I don't even know if they were supposed to be part of it. It's actually a pretty decent looking screwdriver. So I can always use another one. You can actually change the tip out on this, it looks like. Of course, I have my Bergeon set of screwdrivers. It's the #1 tool anybody would need if they were going to do any watch tinkering, I would say. And then, again, Has No Bounds. This is a spring bar tool that has sort of the S and F tips on either side of it. The forked ones, like so. See that? With the bracelet, always start with the bracelet and then maybe get extra straps. Typically, if at least the option's available. Then I have like this midnight blue. I am going to say really quick that this feels like really good leather. This feels really nice. It's extremely flexible. It's not overly stiff. I like the little bit of a different pattern they've got from the norm on the stitching on this strap. It's a good color, shade of blue, go well with the watch. So I'll have more to say on that, I'm sure, once I've worn it in a little bit. But that's a pretty good looking strap from the get-go. In terms of, people that are doing watch stuff for reviews, they have some maybe more elaborate backgrounds. I just have my good old Bergeon pad here and a little bit of this other stuff going on my desk. I don't know, it's just, it's who I am. This is the environment I work in, and that's where I show stuff. It doesn't need to be all trim and fancy all the time, that kind of stuff. So Selten, For the box, this has buttons all the way around actually. So you could pop this open on the side, as you can see. There's the watch. But then of course the idea is unbuckle it from the front. Now you're opening this with me. I haven't seen it yet. So we've got microfiber cleaning cloth on the inside here, again with the logo and the name. And then we have the watch on bracelet. Now regarding the Meteorite, to the naked eye this thing looks generally darker. Almost every element of this watch looks darker in person. And so whenever you see this video or photos, think a few shades darker, particularly, let's say, the dial itself. It's several shades darker of a gray than what you're seeing on the camera. The dark Meteorite on this sub-dial is about the color of graphite, think pencil lead, depending on the lighting and the environment around you, shading, and just in this case, video camera, that the Meteorite is going to take on very unique characteristics based on the environment. Here, one more thing I just noticed in the top cover is what I'm guessing is the warranty card. It's aluminum, probably. At least is what it feels like to me. That's kind of cool. Nice heavy card. 1-year warranty. See, this is Series 0, and I've got serial number 10. Of course, date of purchase was June 22. That's so basically, by the time you have the watch actually in your possession is when the warranty kicks in. And so, yeah. It's the first time I've ever gotten a card that's made of metal for a watch. Let's take this thing out. It's just a cool look. This is the first Meteorite watch I've purchased. I figured I'd probably get one at some point. Just didn't know exactly when that would happen. I was waiting essentially for the right look. Same thing I did with the date. It's like I want one that has the date at 6 and the day at 12. And just the right sort of overall package. Eventually found one of those also on Kickstarter. And so I'm just kind of patient with these things. Like if I like it, I'll wait for it if I have a concept in my mind about what kind of a look or watch I want. All right, so let's get this thing unwrapped and so I can resize it and stuff, but also get a better look at it. Got the extra link here strapped on the side. So the link here has its own little protective covering on it. The crystal had an extra covering on top of it as well. You can kind of see it stuck here on this plastic wrap. Actually, really good first impression. Really like the colors. The balance is great. I actually like the logo done this way on the dial with that plate. Like those simple markers with the double at 12, the half at 6 with that sub dial. You can see the lighter Meteorite and the darker Meteorite on there for the 24-hour, day-night rotation, the stars on there, the Breguet style hands that are blued. I'm a fan of brushed bracelets all around. Having the combination of brushed and the polished center links is interesting, different. Looks like it's a pretty snug fit. Tolerances are good there. One thing I'm noticing that I really like is the vertical brushing on the bezel. That's really nice. Really dig the bezel. Goes with the overall look and feel. Yeah, I'm gonna have to size this down. I gotta remove the plastic from the bracelet and stuff. Let's take a quick look at the rotor. Nice exhibition case back. Selten. Let's see, it says, a rare kind, not a stereotype. See the logo there on the crown as well. Covered with this typical blue protective plastic. It's got some height to it, I will have to say. Substantial height. That bezel height's pretty high. Crystal sitting up pretty high. I do like the blasted here around the side of the case back. That's nice. Okay. Wild looking, right? They've got every single crevice in this thing covered with plastic. Look at this. We got some perlage on the interior of the bracelet clasp. There's some attention to detail. That's clever. I have to say, it's a unique watch. I don't have anything else like this. I've not seen anything else quite like it in terms of the design. It's always nice to see something quite unique from a micro brand. Great look on the eyes. Weight is nice. Not too light, not too heavy. At least that's my initial feel on it. So we've got screwed in links. First impression, pretty good. Attention to detail. One oddity visually, at least for me initially, is the design of the link here between the lugs. looks a little bit chubby to me. I don't know if it's just the height. It's curving with the lugs, but it does just the design of the bracelet and the way that it transitions between the case, the lugs, and then the rest of the bracelet. It at least for me, you know, is a little bit visually odd, but you know, it works. Yeah, look at this transitions between the brushed and the polished. It's just like boom, 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 polished, brushed, meteorite, right? Which has this sort of matte style to it, but picks up light. Yeah, it's like a feast for eyes and light. All right, well, that's the Selten out of this world Meteorite watch. Mine's the Series 00. Of course, there are other options and models out there. I do think it's worth taking a look at if you're wanting entry-level mechanical watch with Meteorite dial. And I don't think you're going to find something else out there that has quite as unique, cool look to it for that price point. And so I do think overall, one, it was a successful campaign in the sense that it got funded and the products are shipping, even if it was a little bit of a delay in that process. But so if you're on the agenda, you're going to get one, it's worth a go. And so given the pros and cons that I talked about at the beginning, every watch, I say this in every video anytime I do a review, has pros and cons. I'm the kind of person who likes to say what those pros and cons are. I don't shy away from either end of that particular spectrum. So links to relevant information about the channel, site, and Selten are in the description below. Stick around, watch some other videos, check out some of my other series, particularly, let's say, on complication side, watchmaking side of stuff. Got a couple more watches to fix this week. Yeah, I'm out.